Hey, what's up, guys? All right, so we're talking about campaigns versus flows in Klaviyo. I think it's important to understand the difference between the two and what their strengths are and really what the purpose is for a campaign versus a flow. It might be really obvious to some people, but I've seen brands where they're just heavily focusing on campaigns and not really paying attention to what flows they've got going on, vice versa. And so it's important to make sure you've got both of those tools, I want to say, down and set up properly and using them effectively. So why this matters, right? So a lot of times you'll see like campaigns are running, people are focusing on campaigns a lot with inconsistent results. And so they're wondering like, why is the revenue from their email marketing not consistent? And a lot of times it spikes during promotions, right? So you're sending a campaign or some sale that you have going on, and then you're doing great. And then after that, it just tanks, obviously, because you don't have the flows doing their part, bringing that consistent revenue, and you're just heavily relying on campaigns. And yeah, it's usually not the tools like I say here. It's about being clear about what should run automatically as a flow versus what should be a campaign. So we're going to clear that up. So what a campaign really is, and flows and campaigns are two different ways of sending messages, but they exist for different reasons, right? So campaign is a manual decision. So you choose what you're sending out. You decide you have a promotion that you want to send out for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, etc., or you have some kind of a update that you want to share with your subscribers about your brand. You're deciding like who receives it, what time it goes out, and why you're doing it, right? So you could schedule it ahead of time. You could send it immediately. Who receives it? Like you're deciding on which segment of your subscriber list you're sending this to. Is it for your VIPs? Is it for everybody? And then why are you doing it? It's a promotion. It's some kind of a news. It's some kind of a huge sale or whatever. And campaigns are tied to moments, right? So promotion, launch, announcement, brand storytelling, etc. They create movement, but only when you are pushing it manually or you're manually creating it and scheduling it to go out. And so now what is a flow? A flow is a standing system. It's running because of some trigger, right? A customer triggers something. They either sign up for your newsletter, that triggers a welcome flow. They add something to cart, right? And then they abandon it or whatever. That triggers the abandonment flow. View a product but don't really buy it or add to cart. So that's like a browse abandonment flow. Placing an order. Okay, you placed an order, now you got a post-purchase flow. So flows don't wait for anybody to manually do anything, especially you, right? They're run by triggers. So like the simplest way to decide what is a campaign or what is a flow is the campaigns are time-based and flows are behavior-based, right? It's as simple as that. I think it's pretty clear there. I don't want to spend too much time on that slide, but use cases, so like the welcome discount, right? So discount needs to reach a new customer, not when you remember to send it or not, right? You don't want to manually send out somebody subscribing to your newsletter for 10% off or 15% off. You don't want to just manually sit there and send codes to these people, emails. So a welcome flow is triggered on sign up, discount code expires automatically, and no campaigns are used in this, right? It doesn't make sense for it to be a campaign. And why it works is like the intent is highest at sign up, right? So when somebody's signing up for a newsletter to get that discount, you want them to immediately have that discount code so they could take an action and complete their checkout. You don't want them to wait for you to send something, the discount code later, as a specific email to that one subscriber. It's ridiculous to even not think about it, but I'm just mentioning it. So timing matters more than exposure here. And the automation from flows removes all the guesswork and things you have to worry about, right? What else? Abandoned cart, right? So somebody adds a product to the cart. We talked about this earlier. The interest exists, right? They're interested in this product. They add it to cart. The timing matters. So what's going to work here is an abandonment flow, not some sort of like campaign again. So it's a short delay and excludes purchases like automatically, right? And people who have already bought something obviously aren't going to get this. This is for people who, the specific people or person in this one instance who abandoned their cart. Product launch. Okay, so campaign announcement, right? So that's what's going to work. You're launching a product, it's an event, and the behavior after a launch is not an event. It's not something you're focusing on. Your campaign announces the launch. The flows, however, can handle browse behavior, cart behavior, post-purchase education about that specific campaign. All that stuff could be handled by the flows, but the campaign will announce the launch, right? Not a flow. All right. So when should something be a flow? So when you're deciding, okay, so if a message belongs, the message belongs to a flow. If number one, it should run even when you're not watching, right? Like you're not paying attention to what's happening, the flow, and you want it to run without your involvement, that's a flow. And if you don't, for example, I'm jumping to number three, you're going to miss revenue if you don't take action, right? So you don't want to be the delay, right? You don't want a human to be the delay. So I signed up, I'm waiting for the code to make a transaction so you could make a sale. And if I don't, then you're missing that revenue, right? You don't want to be in the middle there. You want the flow to automatically handle that for you. Timing matters more than creativity, and it's tied to clear action. So someone wants to take clear action to purchase something, they're waiting for a discount code or whatever it is, and you don't want to be in the middle, right? You want the flow to automatically assist, jump in, fire based on that trigger, give the customer the code, etc. They buy it and move on, right? So you make the sale. So when something should stay as a campaign, it's tied to a single moment or decision by your brand to share something with your subscribers. It's not going to exist next month or next week or whatever. Urgency or narrative matters. So urgency in this sense is not, oh, take action so I could convert and make a sale. Urgency is, okay, we want to send it now to these specific segments or these people, and or schedule it. And then you want to full control over the timing, right? So you don't want it to be based on a trigger. You want it based on when this should happen. Your promotion should go out a week before or 2 weeks before Black Friday starts, not 3 months before or a week after, right? So you want to control the timing. So the stack that creates a stability. So you've got some basic flows that every brand should have. This is just a bare minimum, like your welcome flow, browse abandonment, cart abandonment, post-purchase education, reorder, replenishment, that kind of thing, churn or win back. They haven't bought anything from you. They're about to be excluded from your entire list or deleted. You want to send out a campaign of a few emails to these customers or potential customers and try to persuade them to become a first-time buyer. That's the churn win back flow. So campaigns without burning the list, right? They work best when you amplify what flows can't do. You respect the recent automated sends, and they're spaced intentionally, right? I want to send campaigns every single day, multiple times a day. They're spaced out intentionally. Okay. So volume is what the customer feels, right? What do we mean by that? So they don't really know if you're sending them a flow, a campaign, why you're sending this. If it's obvious that you're sending a Cyber Monday or New Year's promotion, they know why you're sending it, but they just feel the frequency of your emails in their inbox, right? How many times you're emailing them, whether it's a campaign or a flow, they don't really understand that too much, right? Same thing with SMS messages. Your every send adds up is what we're trying to say here. Flows, campaigns across time. And if the volume of sending that you're doing is not intentional, it's not timed, it's not predictable. So they signed up. You already told them in the welcome email that, hey, thanks for joining. Expect to get, I don't know, four emails a month from us or once a week, etc. And then all of a sudden you're sending like 18 emails a month. Keep it consistent, right? And so in other videos, I'll show specifically how to create a campaign, how to create a flow. We'll go into each one as a separate video because it's pretty detailed. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but so thinking turns into control. So you got to keep in mind, like smart sending. What does that mean? You're not trying to, and there's a setting in Klaviyo, I think it's at the 16 hours. Smart sending has a window, right? Time window of in the past 16 hours, has this customer received an email from you, like a campaign type email from you, yes or no? If yes, then smart sending controls by not sending that specific email to that customer. If they haven't been sent anything for the past 16 hours, then they'll get the email. So when you're sending your campaigns, you have to keep in mind smart sending is on or off. And if it is on, what is the setting there? Is it 16 hours, 24 hours, 8 hours? What is it? Because you're thinking like, I'm going to send, nobody send 16 hours is a pretty sizable gap. But if you're trying to send multiple things in one day and thinking that every time I do a send to all my subscribers, they're all going to get it, it doesn't work that way. Smart sending will kick in and it will prevent those people who have already received a message from you from receiving the second one within that window. So keep that in mind. Campaign exclusions, right? So in Klaviyo, you can exclude people from specific campaigns, whether it's an entire segment or whatever it is, but you have the power to figure out, okay, this campaign goes to these people, and you have a criteria there. If they don't meet this criteria, exclude them from this campaign, and Klaviyo will do that for you. There are flow triggers, right? So obviously the flows are triggered by some action or event, and so you could still filter it with the flow filter, even though it is a trigger that says, for example, people who have abandoned cart, but you could add a filter that says, I don't know why you would do this, but you could filter people out that if the abandoned cart dollar amount is less than $10, skip them. I don't really care. You know what I mean? You could filter people out. And so they're just guardrails, like I say in here. They're not like, they're just tools that help you massage and figure out how you want to control the sending cadence, who you want to exclude, how the flow filter should work and exclude this and that. So it's just a lot more tool in our arsenal in Klaviyo that you could do here. Simple operator check. So some things you should check. So campaigns should be flows by now, and which one. You know, what breaks if a campaign's pause for a week, which flows fire more than they should. That's the whole cadence thing. Are flows being fired too often? Or should you have some hour or 2 hours or 4 hour gap in between flow emails that you don't have? And there's certain things to check within the flows and also in campaigns is what I'm trying to say here. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. The campaigns, just understand the difference between campaigns and flows. That's the bottom line. And that what is each one good for or best used for. And they have their specific use cases that we just talked about. They're very powerful. Flows are extremely powerful. They bring a lot of revenue if you do it right. And so, yeah, in the next videos, we'll dive into each one specifically on how to create a campaign and then how to create a flow in a separate video. See you in the next one, guys. Bye.